I'm 25, a nurse, and up until 2 weeks ago, I thought my life was finally starting to settle. After years of working overtime, helping support my younger siblings through college, and barely keeping my head above water, I had just signed the lease on my first solo apartment. No roommates. No family. Just me, my cat, and the silence I'd been craving. But of course, peace never lasts long in my world. The letter came on a Tuesday. No return address, just my name, handwritten in black ink, in a style I hadn't seen since high school. I almost threw it out, assuming it was junk, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a single page, folded in thirds, worn at the edges like it had been opened and closed 100 times. And the moment I read the first line, I felt the floor drop out from under me. I never stopped thinking about that night in the woods. I know you tried to forget, but I can't. My stomach turned. I sat down hard on the edge of my bed, the letter trembling in my hands. I hadn't thought about that night in nearly a decade. Not since the week after graduation. Not since I'd sworn never to talk about it again. Whoever sent this knew. They knew everything. And they weren't going to let it stay buried. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed with the letter on my nightstand, rereading it over and over, searching for something, anything, that would tell me who sent it. But there was no signature. No hint of who wrote it. Just a few cryptic lines that felt like they were pulled from the worst memory I had locked away. The woods. God, I hadn't even driven past that area since high school. Back then, it was the kind of place where secrets were made. Where you went when you didn't want to be found. We were 17, dumb, and full of drama that felt like life or death. Me, Rachel, Lucas, and Jamie, we were inseparable that summer. For kids who thought we had forever. But we didn't. That night, something happened. Something none of us ever talked about again. Rachel was the one who pushed for it. Let's bury it, she'd said, and we all nodded like zombies. We made a pact that night, we'd never speak of it, not to anyone, not even each other. And we didn't. Life moved on. We drifted. Lucas joined the military. Jamie vanished after graduation. Rachel, she stopped answering my texts years ago. And now this letter shows up. Only one of us could have written it. Or someone who knew what we did. But how? How would anyone else know? We made sure. Unless someone broke the pact. I thought I left that night behind, buried in the dirt with the rest of the guilt. But if this letter is real, and it is, then the past is coming back. And it's not coming quietly. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in 6 years. I called Rachel. I didn't expect her to answer. We hadn't spoken since her engagement party, where she got drunk and whispered something to me that I still don't fully understand. It didn't end there, you know. It never did. Then she laughed, toasted the crowd, and carried on like nothing happened. I brushed it off back then, told myself she was just drunk. Now, I wasn't so sure. Her number still worked. It rang twice before going straight to voicemail. No, hey, it's Rachel. Just a robotic voice asking me to leave a message. I hung up. The silence felt too loud. Too familiar. I checked her social media next. Empty. Her Instagram hadn't been updated in almost a year, and her Facebook was deactivated. I searched her fiancé's profile, but all the recent photos were gone. The only thing left was a blurry wedding picture from last October, Rachel smiling stiffly, as not quite meeting the camera. That's when I knew something was wrong. Because Rachel never stayed offline. Not for this long. I sent her a text. Simple. Direct. Did you send the letter? No response. I waited. An hour. Then 3. Then until midnight. Still nothing. And then, just as I was about to turn off my phone, a message popped up. You need to talk to Jamie. He's the only one who didn't walk away clean. It wasn't from Rachel. It was from a number I didn't recognize. And Jamie? Jamie's been missing for almost 10 years. Or so we thought. I stared at the message, reading it again and again. Jamie's the only one who didn't walk away clean. What did that even mean? Jamie vanished after graduation, no goodbyes, no college plans, no trace. People said he just skipped town, ran from his problems like his older brother did before him. Others whispered darker theories, drugs, prison, worse. But we never knew. And we never really tried to find out. I pulled up an old group photo on my phone, us 4 standing in front of Jamie's rusty pickup the night before prom. We looked so stupidly happy, clueless. I tapped his face, zooming in. That familiar smirk. He always acted like he knew something the rest of us didn't. Maybe he did. I checked the number the text came from. No name. No area code I recognized. I hesitated, then dialed. It rang. Once. Twice. Then it picked up, but no one spoke. I heard faint static. Maybe breathing? I couldn't tell. I said his name once, then again louder. Nothing. Then the line cut. I sat there frozen, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. And then I noticed something that hadn't been there before. An email notification. Subject, you remember the creek, right? Attached was a video. It was grainy. Black and white. Security footage? At first, it showed nothing. Just the edge of a forest trail. Then, after a few seconds, a figure entered the frame, limping, hunched, dragging something behind them. A tarp. A large one. The footage timestamp said, last Friday. 2:17 a.m. Whoever it was, they were at the same place we'd buried the truth 10 years ago. And they weren't alone. I watched that video at least a dozen times, but the figure never looked up. No clear face, just a shadow of someone moving with purpose, like they'd done this before. The way they dragged the tarp, it wasn't frantic. It was calm. Mechanical. Like they knew exactly where they were going. The timestamp haunted me. Last Friday. That was the day before I got the letter. Whoever sent that video, they weren't just trying to scare me. They were showing me something. But what? I thought back to the night in the woods. The creek. The shallow grave we dug behind the sycamore tree. We didn't speak, not even when the dirt started to splash back onto our shoes. No one cried. No one screamed. It was like all of us shut down at once. What we buried, it wasn't supposed to follow us. We weren't supposed to see it again. But now someone had unearthed it. And if they had, that meant. My phone buzzed. Another message. Same unknown number. You left something behind. Meet me at the old ranger station. Midnight. I wanted to ignore it. Call the cops. But then I remembered, there were no records. No missing persons report. No evidence. No proof that anything ever happened out there. Because we buried that too. And now someone was unburying it all, one piece at a time. So I packed a flashlight, pepper spray, and God help me, a shovel. Because if Jamie was alive, then something else wasn't. The ranger station sat on the edge of the old trail like a skeleton from another life, windows shattered, roof sagging, long overtaken by weeds and silence. I hadn't been there since the summer after we graduated. Back when it was still locked and abandoned, but we knew how to get in. Jamie had found the loose window in the back. That's where I went. I pulled up at 11:55 p.m. Parked far enough not to be seen from the road. The moon barely lit the trail, and the flashlight beam seemed too thin, too weak for the weight in my chest. I crept through the brush to the window, heart hammering. I half expected to hear voices or see a glow inside. But there was nothing. Just that strange, still kind of quiet that comes before something breaks. Slipping inside, I immediately smelled it, earth, mildew, and something faintly metallic. Blood? No. Not blood. Old iron, maybe. The floor creaked under my shoes as I moved deeper into the building. And then I saw it. A lantern sat in the middle of the floor, flickering faintly. Beside it, a chair. And on that chair, a box, taped shut. No one else in sight. A piece of paper was taped to the box. Open this, or I open your past. My hands were shaking as I peeled back the tape. Inside was a stack of Polaroids, old, dusty, some warped from moisture. At first I didn't recognize what I was looking at. Then I did. They were photos of us. Me, Rachel, Lucas, Jamie, taken in secret. Not the ones we posed for. These were different. Candid. Creepy. One showed Jamie standing alone at the edge of the creek, eyes wide, looking directly into the camera. Except none of us had taken that picture. We were all there that night. And none of us had a camera. I dropped the box. The photos spilled across the floor like a deck of cursed memories. That one picture, Jamie at the creek, face pale, lips parted like he was mid-sentence, burned into my mind. He wasn't scared. He looked surprised. Like he'd seen someone. Someone we didn't. And suddenly, I wasn't alone anymore. I didn't hear anyone come in. No footsteps. No creak. Just a shift in the air behind me, like the room inhaled. I turned fast, flashlight raised, breath stuck in my throat. But there was no one. Then I heard it. A voice. Distant. Soft. Not spoken aloud, but played from a speaker. One of those old cassette recorders, half buried in the shadows near the wall, blinking red. The tape rolled. You never asked who found us that night. You should've. My blood went cold. We always assumed we were alone in the woods. That the silence after it happened meant we'd gotten away with it. That no one saw what we buried. But we were wrong. The recording continued, and the voice changed. It wasn't Jamie's idea to run. Another click. Another voice. This one I recognized immediately. Rachel. I told you it was done. I told you to forget it. Then static. The tape stopped. The room went still. And on the wall across from me, written in ash or charcoal, were the words. You forgot me. I stumbled back from the wall, nearly tripping over the fallen Polaroids. My flashlight beam jumped with my shaking hands, casting warped shadows on the peeling walls. You forgot me. Over and over, the words echoed in my head. Who wrote it? Who was me? We only buried one thing that night. Or so I thought. But the more I stood there, breathing in dust and dread, the more doubt started to claw its way back in. Jamie's expression in that photo, haunted, stunned, it wasn't the look of someone complicit. It was the look of someone who saw something they weren't supposed to. I gathered the photos, shoved them back into the box, and slipped out the window the way I came in. The night air felt colder now, like it knew what I'd seen. I reached my car, locked the doors, and sat in the dark with the engine off. My phone buzzed. Another text. Rachel lied to all of you. Check her basement. You'll find the rest. I didn't want to believe it. Rachel had always been the calm one, the glue of the group. But that message, it lined up too perfectly with the pit in my stomach. And with the way she'd gone silent after my call. She was hiding something. I drove straight to her house. Didn't call. Didn't knock. I still had the spare key she gave me years ago, when we thought our friendship would last forever. The place was dark, quiet. Inside, everything was exactly how I remembered, spotless, curated, staged like a model home. But the basement door stood slightly ajar. Like it was waiting. I flipped the light and descended, one step at a time, each creak groaning under a decade of secrets. At the bottom, something caught the beam of my flashlight. Another box, taped shut. Same handwriting as the note from the ranger station. I opened it. Inside, another letter. And a set of dog tags. Lucas's. The dog tag slipped from my fingers and hit the floor with a soft clink that felt deafening in the stillness of Rachel's basement. My heart seized. Lucas was supposed to be overseas. He'd joined the military right after the summer everything happened. Letters had come, postcards too, sporadic, but real. I'd seen his signature. Heard his voice once, years ago. But now I couldn't tell what was true anymore. Why were his dog tags here? The letter inside the box was thicker than the last. Dozens of pages, folded into an old manila envelope. The first page was addressed to whoever finally decides to face this. I sat on the concrete floor and started to read. It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't mean for it to go that far. But once it did, Rachel said we had to make it look like an accident. Jamie panicked. He said someone saw us, he wouldn't say who, just that we weren't alone. That's why we buried it. That's why we made the pact. But Rachel, she didn't stop there. My blood ran cold as I kept reading. The pages unraveled a second story, one I never knew existed. Rachel hadn't just covered up what we did. She'd gone back. Weeks later. Alone. Because Jamie had started talking. He told someone. Or he was about to. So Rachel made him disappear. Lucas's letter said he tried to stop her. He followed her to the woods, saw her with Jamie, saw her do something. He never explained what, just that she left a second tarp in the same place we thought was forgotten. That's when Lucas left town. Not for the military. Not for service. He ran. But someone found him. Forced him to write those letters. Keep up the lie. The final page of the letter wasn't written by Lucas. It was typed. Now you know the truth. And now you know why Rachel has been silent. She didn't just bury Jamie. She buried me, too. Midnight. The creek. Come alone. Or I show the whole town. The letter shook in my hands. Every word screamed one truth. Rachel had lied to all of us. She hadn't just silenced Jamie. She hadn't just driven Lucas into hiding. She'd kept it going. Fed the story. Buried more than bodies. She buried the rest of us with it. Midnight. The creek. It was 11:09 p.m. I didn't even think. I grabbed the flashlight, stuffed the letter in my jacket, and drove. The same winding roads. The same choking silence. That stretch of woods didn't just hold our secrets, it was our secret. The trail looked exactly the same. The creek was louder than I remembered, swollen from recent rains. And there, across the bank, a single lantern glowed like a dying star. He was already there. Jamie. Older, thinner, but unmistakable. His hair longer, face worn. But those eyes, same as that photo. Still haunted, still watching. I stayed silent. So did he. For a minute, all I heard was the water and the wind through the trees. Then Jamie spoke. She thought no one would come back. But I did. He didn't need to explain. I understood now. Rachel had gone too far. Jamie had survived, but not the way we thought. He'd been hiding, waiting, letting the guilt rot us from the inside out. Lucas sent me the photos, he said. He wanted you to know before she found him again. But he's gone now. And you're the last one who still thinks this ends clean. My mouth was dry. I asked him what he wanted from me. He stepped aside. Behind him, just visible in the moonlight, was a second tarp, smaller than the first. I knew what was inside. It's not about revenge, Jamie said. It's about memory. You can't forget what you never really buried. Then he handed me a lighter. This time, we finish it. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was fear. Maybe guilt. Maybe I just wanted it to end. I lit the tarp. Watched the flames catch. Watched the past burn. Jamie vanished into the woods before the fire died down. I haven't seen him since. Rachel was found dead 3 days later. Apparent overdose. No note. No funeral. Lucas's body was never recovered. And me? I moved. Changed my number. Started over. But some nights, when the air smells like smoke and the wind cuts too deep, I swear I hear the creak again. And I remember what Jamie said. You can't forget what you never really buried. I tried. God help me, I tried.